It's April 1st, 2015. So anyway, I was talking about the United States slave system, and it is slavery. It is not and cannot be described as anything else aside from slavery. What has happened to me and what the United States has done with me is basically slavery, but what they're doing with clones and cloning, human cloning, is actually even worse. The United States has become the #1 slave master and employer of individuals who manage slaves for them, and their slave system is all these people are talking about, we're getting close to, I guess, Passover, which is supposed to be the time that Jews celebrate being released and freed from slavery. And while they carry on with their celebrations and put up museums and want everyone to notice, their holocausts and everything, which I'm not going to deny, like some people do, that a Holocaust ever happened. I do believe it happened, and I do think it's important that people know about it. But some people really have taken it to an extreme, as if they're the only people that's ever suffered in the whole world. Although it's true that they have been persecuted through the centuries a number of times, more than some groups have. There are a lot of other groups that experience holocausts, in a sense, and who experience slavery. And just recently, to the United States White House administration and a bunch of other individuals are all gathering under some Selma Bridge to celebrate civil rights movement and progression away from slavery, and how all these people are free from slavery who are black. And so in that group of slaves, they're black slaves, and that was only pretty recent that form of slavery was abolished. And really, what it looks like to me is the United States government decided, well, we don't need the blacks anymore, just because they're black. We have something even better. Let's just kidnap and hold hostage whoever we want. Doesn't matter what their race is. If we get a collection of a few different kinds of individuals, then someone can't maybe class action lawsuit us and claim that we're discriminating against a specific set of people or a kind of group. And we can get away with forcing people to work for the United States government while we steal from them and basically hold them like slave holders and manage them and get away with it. And besides, the cotton industry isn't really needing a lot of people out there picking cotton anyway, because we have machines that can do that now. So instead of having a civil war where people are, where it's basically citizens. I mean, back then there were people in the government who were divided on the slavery issue, and then the country was kind of divided down a line, mostly for economic reasons, because the slaves weren't really needed or were not quite as useful over in the north or the west side of the United States. There were plenty of people out in the west who were just like frontiermen and women, and kind of doing things on their own. They were kind of rough, sturdy stock types of people who wanted to explore out on their own, and they weren't carrying and taking a lot of slaves with them when they did that. Over in the South, the economy, the way that people made money, hinged on the work of slaves. So the cotton industry and tobacco industry, a lot of different industries that needed manual labor. The United States government was profiting along with that entire side of the country by using slaves to get cheap labor. And that was pretty much the only reason why they did it. And that is pretty much one of the reasons why there is a divide in the country. You know, their philosophical ideals, for a lot of them, came out of whether or not they were directly benefiting from slavery or not. So while some people on the West Coast or North could have said, well, we oppose slavery and we're the good guys, and the other people, the Confederates on the other side, said we are for it, and we're the ones supporting the United States economy right now more than you other guys. Well, you know, some people could say that it was just a moral stance, when really some of the people on the West Coast probably just didn't like the fact that the South was making a lot more money than they were. You know, why are they getting to make all of this money on cheap labor when we have to work by our work out here on our own, and we don't profit from this, and you're letting the slaves take jobs away from us, you know, or from our relatives, or who knows what. I mean, it wasn't just a moral issue. What it really came down to, I mean, I'd have to think about it more before I really developed it. Good idea about it, but what it really came down to, the reason that the United States government was justifying it, was for economic reasons. So what the United States has done with me, in justifying their treatment of me, and holding me hostage basically as a kid, discrediting me, calling me mentally ill, harming me, threatening me, and bribing people to return me back to them whenever I try to leave and try to make it on my own somewhere. What the United States has tried to justify this all with is how much money they're getting off of it. So when they part my songs out and give them to different individuals to perform and sing, they're basically saying, here, you can get rich, we'll get rich, we're not going to give her anything. But it's okay, because, you know, we're benefiting, well, for one thing, themselves, and for another thing, we're sharing it and distributing it to the economy, and this is promoting the health and wealth of the nation. When in reality, what the United States government has been doing is no different than what they've done with slaves. So they took all their techniques in how to manage slaves, and they've been applying it to a different kind of category of persons. And some of those individuals are just individuals the United States government decides that they want to exploit however they can, and it doesn't matter how illegal it is and how much torture and harm goes into it. And the next, what is even worse, as something else that's going on that the United States is doing, which is an entirely, you know, trying to say that these individuals are exploited for working for the U.S. government, whether they're white, black, brown, whatever, yellow, red, orange. I have seen some orange people over in California and Florida on occasion. And a few green people too. They feel really sickened by what this government is doing. And a few purple people too, who get beat up by the government, and blue. You know, I think we have people in the country who cover the entire spectrum of the rainbow, who have been part of the United States government slave system, victims of the slave system, actually. So when it ends up being a bunch of different individuals pulled from different groups, it's harder to identify them as being actually slaves, because it's like when people get political asylum in groups. I'm going to make another clip about that.